Go. Tomastani aparadhe nahi paritra. Tomastani aparadhe nahi paritra. Tomarar jai sadha Govinda Vishram. Tomarar jai sadha Govinda Vishram. Govinda kohe namora Vaishnava para. Govinda kohe namora Vaishnava para. Prati janme kori asha charane rajuri. Prati janme kori asha charane radule. Naratama korodaya apanarabuli. Naratama korodaya apanarabuli. Paro karunya koro Vaishnava Gosai. Patita pavana toma vinate hona. Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur. Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're going to continue with our Upadesh Amrita. Rather than going to Srimad Bhagavatam, we'll continue with the Upadesh Amrita and we'll try to cover more. So we're on text number 2. I think most of you know the verse, right? Atyahara prayashascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangascha loyam cha shadbir bhaktir vinashyati atyahara prayashascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangascha loyam cha shadbir bhaktir vinashyati atyahara prayashascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangascha loyam cha shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. Ati ahara, overeating or too much collecting. Prayasha, over endeavoring. Cha, and. Prajalpa, idle talk. Niyama, rules and regulations. Agraha, too much attachment to, or agraha, too much neglect of. Jana sangha, association with worldly minded persons. Cha, and. Loyam, ardent longing or greed. Cha, and. Sadbi, by these 6. Bhakti, devotional service. Vinashyati, is destroyed. Translation. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. 1. Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. 2. Over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. 3. Talking unnecessary about mundane subject matters. 4. Practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement. Or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. 5. Associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6. Being greedy for mundane achievements. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. Since all conditioned living beings are under the control of the Lord's third energy, this material world is designed so that one is obliged to work. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has three primary energies or potencies. The first is called Antaranga Shakti, or the internal potency. The second is called Tatastha Shakti, or the marginal potency. The third is called Bahiranga Shakti, or the external potency. The living entities constitute the marginal potency, and they are situated between the internal and external potencies. Being subordinate as eternal servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Jivatmas, or atomic living entities, must remain under the control of either the internal or external potency. When they are under the control of the internal potency, they display their natural constitutional activity, namely constant engagement in the devotional service of the Lord. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita 9:13. Neha Mahatmanas tumam parta daivim prakritim ashrita bhajanti ananya manaso gyatva bhutadim avyayam. The great souls are the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vachakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasade Gaur Bhaktavinda. Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Given to us by Swami, is describing the 6 things which we have to avoid in order to cultivate devotional service. We can see this process of bhakti yoga is very scientific. You do this, you get that result. And you do something else, you get a different result. It's all very scientific. We can see, you follow the process, you get the result. And we deviate, we get some other result. So Srila Prabhupada begins his purport explaining how all living entities have to work. All right? The nature of the soul. Nahi kaschit chamamapi jatu tistati akarmakrit. All living entities are forced to act helplessly. No one can be idle, not even for a moment. We may think, oh, I don't have a job, I don't need to work. But still, they will act. They will still eat. They will go shopping. they'll go to meet their friends, they'll watch their television, they'll call their friends, they'll use their mobile phone, they'll be doing many things. Nobody can be idle, nobody can stop and do nothing for very long. So Srila Prabhupada said, everyone has to work. And then he explains the position of the living entity, how we are the marginal potency of the Lord. Marginal potency, we are between the material and the spiritual. So we have that choice, either to be situated under the spiritual energy or under the material energy. But in both conditions, we are controlled. In both conditions, we are controlled. Under the material energy, we are controlled by the three modes of nature. We are thinking we're free, but we're not free. Nobody's actually free. We're all under the control of the Supreme Lord. And He gives us that independence to choose where we want to be. Do we want to be under the material energy or under the spiritual energy? There is the Antaranga Shakti and the Bahir Anga Shakti. So the Bahir Anga Shakti, the external potency. So it is personified by Mother Durga, and she carries a trident, right? We all know Mother Durga has a trident, just like Lord Shiva also has, Ganesh also has. People in that family, mostly they have the trident, right? Kartikeya, he has a spear. But at least Lord Shiva, Parvati, Ganesh, they have the trident. And that trident represents the miseries of the material world. Adi Bhautik, Adi Atmik, Adi Daivik. The miseries which are inflicted on the living entity. Miseries of the body and mind. Miseries of the material nature. And miseries from other living entities. We all know how there are many problems in our life. We get problems, sometimes neighbors are giving problems, sometimes it's mosquitoes giving problems, sometimes it's dogs or snakes or jackals. There's always different living entities there to trouble us, just to make our life more difficult. And then the material nature itself is not very comforting. The material nature, sometimes it's very hot, and then next minute it can change, it can be very cold, and there can be rain, and then there can be no rain sometimes. When you want the rain, there's no rain, and when you don't want the rain, then there's so much rain. You get what you don't want, and what you want, you don't get. That's the nature of the material world. And then, of course, the miseries of our own body and mind. So many troubles with the body. More and more. So we want to understand the choice of the living entity. We can be situated under the Bahiranga Shakti, where you forget Krishna. Krishna Bulya Jeev. Krishna Bulya Jeev Anadir Bahir Mukha Itaiva Maya Tara Deha Samsara Dukkha. Itaiva Maya Tara Deha Samsara. Forgetting Krishna. We looked because we looked at the external energy, we turned away from Krishna, and instead we looked at the external energy, and we forgot Krishna since time immemorial. And in this way, we've been meeting so many difficulties, one after another. So we have to understand the nature of the material world. But then Srila Prabhupada quotes about the great souls, the devotees. Now the Mahatmas, they don't accept the Bahiranga Shakti. They turn towards Krishna. So they take the shelter of the Antaranga Shakti, the spiritual energy. So Prabhupada quotes, Mahatmanas to Mampar. The Mahatmas are under the protection of the divine energy. But they're also working. They are fully engaged in devotional service. You see, it's not that Mahatmas don't work. The Mahatmas are working like anything. They're fully engaged in devotional service because they know Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava, Gaurnitai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. So both sides of the fence, you have to work. Either you work under the service and the control of Maya, or you work under the service and control of Krishna.